gold, everything. At least that's what the SEC appeared to think. So the SEC claimed this overarching jurisdiction where they wouldn't tell you what was a security, what wasn't, but you better be careful and treat it like a security no matter what. That's been dialed back, and I'll talk about that in a second. So if everything is a security, what do you need to do if you're offering securities to the public in the US? Well, the default rule is you need to register that offering with the SEC before you offer to sell or sell the securities. And registering a complete offering with the SEC is expensive, it's complex, it's time-consuming. It's normally associated with what's called an initial public offering, IPO. I'm sure most of you know that term. So registered offerings, when they're done to the general public, for the first time, have traditionally been IPOs, initial public offerings. And of course, there's benefits to doing an IPO. You know, everyone used to dream of doing an IPO. Like, one day I'll start a company in my garage, and then 2 years later I'll IPO it. Well, it's a great idea, but IPOs have become rarer over time because it's been harder and harder to do an IPO, but we'll get into that. Okay, here's the second semester securities regulation covered in 30 seconds or less. When you register your public offering in the United States, not only is the actual registration process long, expensive, complex, all that other fun stuff, and not only do you need the SEC to approve or make effective that offer before you can carry it out, registering a public offering in the US results then in your company being publicly traded or being in what's called an SEC reporting company, meaning the joy doesn't stop with that first registration. Oh no, it's like the relationship that just keeps on going because you have to keep on filing reports with the SEC. You have to keep on being in compliance. Yearly reports, quarterly reports, special action reports, you know, and if you mess up, you get all kinds of lawsuits. It's lots of fun stuff. So there's two ways that you can become a publicly traded company in the US. You can either register your initial offering, your IPO, or here's the fun part. Suppose you're really careful and you don't sell in the US and you limit the number of people you're selling to. Well, if secondary market trading, in other words, trading after your initial sale, if your security gets into the hands of enough US investors, guess what? The SEC will say, well, fine, you didn't offer your securities to the public, but enough of the public owns them now that we're going to treat you like a reporting company, like a publicly traded company. So all these companies that are doing ICOs and IEOs outside the US, once those tokens get into enough American hands, they can't theoretically be a reporting company under the SEC rules, even if they avoided the US in the first place. That's fun. That's a result of secondary market trading. Okay, so of course, US securities law only applies to securities, and thus only to security tokens. Not the US definition, but the rational definition of a security token is a token that's like a traditional investment type, say stock or bond, or that represents some sort of economic or profit interest in the issuer or the underlying platform. That seems relatively straightforward. A utility token, not counting like currency tokens, is best thought of as a token that allows access to a blockchain-based software platform. You know, you can even imagine, say, tokenized access to Office 365 if Office 365 was blockchain-based, or Google Apps if Google Apps was blockchain-based. So we have this theoretical divide between security tokens and utility tokens. And theoretically, you should only have to register offerings of security tokens, not utility tokens. But the SEC used to say that every token was a security token. So how do people traditionally, in quotes, if they're doing a sale of tokens, avoid the United States, or avoid registration rather? Well, the first traditional technique is to only sell utility tokens. Well, if the SEC thinks every token is a security token and there is no such thing as a utility token, how do you do that? Raise your hand if you have the answer. Because if you have the answer, I'll buy it from you. Okay, number two is people think, you know, I will use an offshore platform to do an ICO or IEO. That platform will pretend to not accept US investment. I'm sure I'm safe now. And then technique number three, which is actually pretty valid, is there's ways of getting money from US investors, and you have to do this. It's fantastic. Without doing a full public offering, without registering your offering. It's called using an exemption. And the most popular available exemption in the US is Regulation D. D stands for awesome. No, it doesn't really, but just Regulation D. All right. Regulation D is, I'll get into the details, but it's small sales, a limited group. It's not a public offering, it's a very private offering, and there's a safe harbor, is a term, for offerings like that in the US where you don't need to register it. So these are the 3 typical ways of avoiding registering in the US. Reg A Plus either makes these much easier to use or adds to them, and that's a little preview. And here we go with 1 minute to go. Okay, now here's the news flash I want everyone to get in their minds. The SEC has dialed back its position on security tokens. Okay, it used to claim, Jay Clayton, the chairman, said, I've never seen an ICO that did not involve a public offering of securities, or some words to that effect, which is clearly a lie. But the US is under pressure now. So the US, the SEC, has dialed back its position. They've now issued a no action letter and also an interpretive release indicating that not all tokens are security tokens, that there is such a thing as a utility token in the US, which my official response was, duh, but it took them a while to catch up. All right, so there's now this theoretical world where we don't need to register every token in the US. That's nice. So we know what a utility token is. It's basically saying that's not a security token. It's saying that allows tokenized access to a platform. Here's another takeaway that I want everyone to drill into their mind. The traditional ICO model is someone has a great idea for a platform, but it's not built yet. They sell their tokens. They're not yet working tokens to the public. They get Bitcoin or fiat in exchange for those tokens, and they use the proceeds to build their platform. And then those tokens later, once that platform is built, become functional, right? That's the traditional ICO model. That's what Ethereum did, right? Vitalik had an idea for a platform. It didn't just spring fully formed from his mind, as smart as he is, right? So he raised money, built Ethereum, and then the Ether became functional. Well, guess what? Ethereum conducted a public offering of securities when they did their initial ICO. Okay, Ethereum was a security. What's amazing, and the SEC has said this, is that even though Ethereum started off as a security, because the network evolved and became functional and decentralized, Ethereum is no longer a security. Exactly. Who's ever heard of the SEC or any other regulator saying, yes, magically what you have, AT&T stock is no longer a security because something happened to the AT&T network? That's never happened before in the history of securities law. That's awesome. Yep. You're feeling me, aren't you? All right, I like this. Who wants lunch? Wait 5 minutes. Okay, so that, technique number 1 to avoid registration, issue a utility token, or being sure that it's fully functional, because if it's not fully functional, if it's pre-functional, I did make this perfectly clear. Oh, give me a second. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna jump ahead. So Reg A Plus lets you raise $50 million from the US every 12 months. You can sell these tokens to anyone, not just accredited investors. You can use Reg A Plus to take your private exempt offerings, offer them to the public, and stop the tokens from being restricted. And guys, this last slide is worth $100 million. Remember I talked about public companies and that you have this ongoing reporting requirement? Remember the idea of a pre-functional token becoming a functional and no longer security? Well, what if you use A Plus to conduct your ICO, right? You're not violating the law even though they're pre-functional because you're treating it like a security. You're doing your public issuance. Well, yes, then you have to do reporting ongoing under A+. But suppose you finish building your platform and those tokens you issued that were initially securities aren't securities and they evolve so they're utility tokens. Well, here's the Jedi move. Then you petition the SEC and you say, guess what? I no longer have any security tokens in circulation. They're all utility tokens now. I petition that I no longer need to be a reporting company. And you know what? It hasn't happened yet, but the SEC should say yes. Because you know what? If they're not securities, why are you reporting? Everyone get that last part? If you didn't, catch me right after, because I'm out of time, and enjoy your lunch. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the AI Startup Pitch of the spring edition of the Malta AI and Blockchain Summit 2019, hosted by Microsoft, Salesforce, Nichols Moisa, WH Partners, Growth Gurus, and Kamafa.com. Meet the judge. Anthony Grech, Certus Operations. Angelo Dalli, Umne. David Orban, Singularity Group AG. Dylan Seychelles, University of Malta. Alexei Dingley, University of Malta. Jackie Malia, International Management Services. Moderated by Rick Goddard, Sigma.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the battle for the AI pitch. One of my most personal favourite parts of the day. First of all, can we have a round of applause for our judges, please? Thank you, judges. Please be very kind. This is a new technology that we've implemented into our event, so please be kind on the startups. Now, I'm going to quickly explain to you the rulings and the rules of the AI pitch. So basically, we had over 300 startups apply. We narrowed it down to the 100 that was guaranteed a free startup booth at our startup village. Out of the final 10 contestants of the AI pitch, they were selected to pitch their idea, their product, in front of our judging panel. Okay? Now, first of all, we're going to introduce to our collaborators. The prize fund at the end, okay, as we all know, is what we call a package of services regarding marketing services, Salesforce training, growth gurus, marketing. We've got Microsoft. We've got WH Partners, law services, giving the startup that's our winner at the end of this some serious products to get their business up and running. Okay? Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, guys, can I please introduce on stage with us for their 3-minute pitch and 3 minutes Q&R from our judging panel. First contestant of the evening is Mr. Thomas Revillon from Gamble ID, Global ID. Hello, Thomas.
Hello.
How are you?
A bit stressed, but I'm all good.
A bit stressed. How do you think I feel? Now, this is your time to shine. Please face the judges and the audience, okay? You're going to be judged. You have 3 minutes. The strict time in it is very, very vital.
Okay.
After 3 minutes, your mic will be cut. And after 3 minutes, your judges' mics will be cut. Okay?
Cool. Okay.
Please take your time to shine.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have maybe...
Do I have a fobber? I don't have a fobber. I'm sure our sound screens do have a fobber.
Cool.
Can we have a round of applause, please, for Thomas?
All right. All good now? Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. So Global ID is a 3D finger vein biometric authentication system created in 2016 by Professor Lambert Sona and his team of people having expertise for decades in tech, healthcare, research, and biometry, in order to answer to 3 identified problems, which are the risk of counterfeits of identity, the poor encryption of data, and the high risk of errors of authentication. In order to do that, they provide a reliable biometric authentication system based on the innovative 3D process of 3 single steps. This is create, read, and real-time matching of the data. What is unique with Global ID is that, as mentioned, it does really the 3D mapping of your fingers with the veins. So it's quite unique for every single human on Earth, which is better in a way that face recognition has some issues. Probably you heard about Apple having these kinds of issues. Quickly, here is an overview of the roadmap of Global ID with the creation and first proof of concept in 2015. The next 3 years were really in order to do some other proof of concepts and develop different kinds of prototypes. So we are really now in the phase of go-to-market with the third release of our prototype and different proof of concepts in banks, hospitals, and as well with a product that is going to be launched for proof of concept with the Red Cross and Atos next month. Basically, Global ID can be used in multiple verticals, but here are the 3 products that we propose. BioID, that is for states, administrations, and hospitals, in order to enhance the identification solution in, for example, medical patients, but as well border controls. BioLocker, at first for hospitals, in order to enhance the identification process. And VenoPay, as it says, in order to pay with your vein mapping. Here is a quick overview on how it works. So you put your finger into the device, you have some LEDs that light the veins, and then you have some captors that create and rebuild the vein infrastructure into a private blockchain where we store and encrypt the data, and where actually we have a process of data portability for all the entities within this network to have access, for example, different kinds of government entities. As of today, Global ID is doing a security token offering based in Switzerland, where we are opening our equity for 24% and looking for 6 million Swiss francs for post-money valuation of 25 million. Basically, that's quick. Yep. If you have some questions, feel free to send us an email or go to our website, globalid.ch or globalid.swiss, or even come to see us at our exposition booth in the Startup Village. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open for the questions.
Round of applause for Thomas, please.
Are you producing the hardware yourselves? And are you considering licensing it for production to third parties?
Yes, so actually we are producing really the software and the hardware, like white labeling the solution. We have to talk.
So what's the precision of the solution?
Sorry?
How precise is it?
Well, the error rate is about 0.001%. And because every single human on Earth have a different blood flow and heart and vein network, it's actually way more accurate than facial recognition or fingerprints. For example, in migration, like we had a big crisis in Europe, and actually a lot of migrants have their fingerprints burnt, and every time they go to a new border, they have a new identity. With the finger veins, you can't do that.
And did you do user testing?
Yeah, we do have actually been doing a lot of proof of concept since 2015 with different banks. Last week, we implemented about 15 of those devices in the Hôpital de Jura in France. So we have a database already of information and people identified. And the goal now is really to expand globally our solution and start implementing those solutions in different businesses.
And how sensitive is it? I mean, if somebody moves the finger or places it in a different way, I mean, the reconstruction probably wouldn't be exact.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same as when you cross the border. Usually, you're not doing like this when you are...
No, inside the device, I mean.
Sorry?
Inside the device, because if you insert at an angle or something...
Yeah. Well, in that regards, it's actually pretty well built, so it's not moving inside. You don't have the components moving around.
Yes, but imagine somebody enters it sideways.
Well, the device is made for you to have really the whole finger captured into the device. So by doing this and having the sensors as well, like around the finger, we actually reduce the risk of these kinds of things. And as I mentioned, the error rate is quite low.
Okay.
Is that all, judges? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause, please. Let's put your hands together for Thomas and for Global ID. Brilliant. Next up, we have Mark Anstead from Hydro. Round of applause for Mark. Hi, Mark. Welcome.
How's it going? Thank you.
And you have 3 minutes. There's your time to shine.
Alrighty. How's it going, everybody? My name is Mark Anstead. I am from Hydro, and I'm here to talk to you today about how we are building a new global decentralized economy. So a little bit about us. We are decentralized and community-driven. We are completely self-funded with no ICO or VC funding. We are proud to be a layer 2 protocol built on Ethereum, and everything we are building is open architecture and open sourced. So now into some of the protocols that we are building. Looking at it from the overhead, we have the digital identity management protocol called Snowflake, which is built on the Hydro ERC 1484 EIP. And this is basically the core of the entire ecosystem. We also have a payments protocol called Tide, and that enables for identity-linked payments. We also have 3 helper protocols, which enable for authentication, file management systems, as well as security tokenization. Encompassing all of this, being at an AI conference, we have MIST, which enables for artificial intelligence. So now let's dive into MIST. So MIST is basically the first of its kind fraud detection layer, and it utilizes artificial intelligence and machine learning to detect the transactions that are going to and from addresses. MIST also can analyze all of the transactions that are going to and from a Snowflake ID, which is a digital identity. It also can detect changes in behavior patterns and give a weight to them, and can also give them a reputation. One of the cool things that you can do with MIST is help prevent users from sending cryptocurrency or money to an address that might be compromised. Snowflake is our digital identity management protocol, and it is built on top of the ERC 1484 EIP. One of the really cool things about this is you're able to have applications be tied to a user's digital identity. You're also able to have decentralized applications be interconnected, so when you're going and using a new application, you don't need to have a new identity or Ethereum address created for each new application. You're also able to do KYC with onboarding users, as well as build different DeFi applications. Tide is our payments protocol, which enables for permissionless, gasless P2P transactions. And some of the different things that you can do with Tide, with our protocols, are for invoicing, interest, loan payments, and different types of P2P, B2B, and B2C transactions. Thank you, guys, and I look forward to some of your questions.
Are you raising any money?
Currently, no.
Okay.
We have never raised any money whatsoever.
All right. I'm leaving then. Bye-bye.
For the MIST AI, do you have data that you have been training it on, and what technology are you using?
So as I mentioned, we're basically building on top of Ethereum, and the way that Tide is our payments protocol, and Snowflake is our digital identity management protocol. And from those protocols, applications are being built, and tons of data on a public blockchain is being generated. So what we're doing with MIST is we are going to utilize artificial intelligence to basically generate more data from the public ledger, and can do data analysis and predictions analysis.
Do you have someone actually labeling the data? Are you extracting it and analyzing the public transactions and saying, oh, this is fraud, this isn't? I mean, what are you doing on that area?
So we're basically going to be analyzing all of the transactions that are done within the ecosystem, and whether it's done on applications that we're building, applications that people in the community are building. So it's not really just what we're doing, it's what the entire ecosystem, or what people out here who are developers and might want to build a solution. We're able to generate more data from that and analyze what's going on.
And how are you doing the data quality assurance aspect of it? How are you ensuring the quality?
We're basically, so right now we are currently in the architectural phase, so we're basically mapping out how exactly we want to do that. We are not currently in development for the AI phase yet. We are basically working with a lot of our community members and people who specialize in artificial intelligence and machine learning to communicate with them different ways that we can utilize it within our ecosystem as well as in the entire network of Ethereum in general.
Do you know which AI algorithm will you be using?
We're just going to be doing data analysis and predictions analysis.
Okay, so you're not sure about which algorithm you'll be using?
Not specifically
Okay,
yet, no.
fair enough. Now, one of the issues with these kind of fraud detection is that the amount of data, or rather the quality of the data is not so good. I mean, you can have a lot of data, but you have little information about the actual transaction. How are you going to solve that issue?
Specifically how we're going to solve it, that is something...
Because, of course, AI will need the data.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have quality data, then you'll have issues.
Correct. So what we're basically going to be doing is examining how some of the data is being generated, because obviously we haven't built it out yet, built out the protocols and smart contracts to enable for some of these applications to be built and utilized. So we're going to be speaking with people within the community how to best generate and build out solutions to enable for people anywhere around the world to utilize those solutions.
Good stuff, guys, good stuff. Thank you. Round of applause to Mark from Hydro. We definitely have a fan down here of Hydro, a big supporter. And great questions and confident answers. So we're moving on. Next up, guys, we have AJ Casti from Contract. Put your hands together, please, and show your support. Hi. AJ.
Hi, how are you?
There you go.
Thank you. So I have to advance this one, right?
The green one is next, and the red one is back.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant.
Hello, how are you,
Your 3
everyone?
minutes starts now.
Good afternoon. My name is Ajay Jasti from Contract. And with the Contract, you can create dynamic digital contracts to monitor contractual obligations in real time. So to address various multiple problems, that is like pretty much the contracts are static in nature, they are difficult to track and trace, and difficult to understand the obligations, and also difficult to reduce the conflicts and frauds with the existing contracts. And for that, I think it's a good time to move on to intelligent and self-aware contracts. So if you look at every individual in their entire lifetime, they pretty much accumulate many categories and subcategories of the contracts, but they need a dynamic contracts to manage efficiently. So our product, what it do is the legal contract, it goes into multiple transformations, and each transformation addresses particular market segments. And finally, it starts from physical contract, end up with embedded contracts for IoT devices. And the platform also integrates AI, IoT, and blockchain to provide self-aware, self-manageable, and self-executable contract. So our market reach is here. Contract can be a P2P, P2P network, or it can be a private network for enterprises. And our key advantage is we are a multi-sided market platform, and with operational tokens in the platform, and then machine addressable contracts. So our market addressability is, our share of market is around $26 million by 2023. To address this, though there are few weaknesses and threats, so we are going to address them with our strengths, and then market opportunity across the world and across multiple market segments. And it is not possible. We have a great team, and who very smart and hard work, and we are able to achieve them with this team. So with this, I would like to open the forum for question and answers.
So how are you doing the transformation of the contracts into self-executable contracts? What is the process?
So the process is, across the world, we have millions of existing contracts, whether it's in a physical form or in a digital form. So first step is to upload the current contracts if you have one, or you can take a template-based, utilize it, or it can be a free form. So if it is a physical form, then upload it first. The physical form then be transferred. The AI engine will monitor the contract, process it, and then it identifies what are the contractual obligations within that particular contract, and then it will initiate the self-execution process so that then it starts monitoring with the real-time data coming from the, whether it can be a machines or it can be a Oracle data source. So then it can monitor and it can alert based on, like, say, for example, if you need a renewal of the contract, then it can alert it, or if there is any payment transformation, like, it can do that. So there are multiple things you can do. So the AI engine is the one which is running inside the platform.
And if there are errors, for example, that the AI makes, do you have like an opportunity to correct it before you create the contract?
Yes, there is an option, like, because before it goes into the self-execution, and then it can option is it can ask the user whether you are enabling it as a self-executed contract.
But how do you realize that there are errors? Are they checked?
Yes, before going to the production, so the system is going to be checked with n number of contracts. And because if it is a template-based, yes, it's already tested, the template-based contracts, and then it will put into the system.
But before you said there are other contracts which are not template-based.
Yeah, which are not template-based. That's why the contracts which has to go through the natural language processing, and then it identifies the particular obligations, say, for example, due date, and between who are the parties between the contracts, or we had to transfer any payments, or what are the interest rates. So all these obligations we have to capture while processing, and then you can create a smart contract structure, and then that structure will become, so it will create it, and then automatically goes into the system.
What are the main components of the NLP system?
So as of now, like, we are using planning for Amazon, Comprehend, and then Amazon Textra. So those are the two things. And then also we are testing with NLTK.
Do you have a strategy against the bias?
What is that?
A strategy against the bias in your data.
Can you repeat?
A strategy against the bias in your data.
Bias here, because the biased data may not happen, because these contracts are actually already reviewed by the attorneys and lawyers, because they are on the producer side, and the consumers are pretty much individuals or businesses or machines. So these contracts are already reviewed and approved by attorneys.
Good stuff, good stuff. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
And let's hope your contract company will convince the judges to make a contract. Who knows, who knows. Moving on. Fourth in line for our finalist is Dr. Isami Outaleb from Pharma Trace. Let's show some support, guys. These are startups. Hello, Doctor.
Hi.
How are we?
Nice meeting you. Very good.
And your time starts now.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to just jump right into the matter. So the story, here is the story. I've been working since 7 years as a senior management consultant in pharma and healthcare, and I've been fed up with a couple of issues like counterfeits, like data silos, like fake data, lack of visibility and transparency, governance issues. Therefore, let me just highlight a couple of examples. For instance, that you have in the distribution of counterfeit, it's been cancer drugs stolen from Greek hospitals, which costs about 17 million. And this is like a really tiny one. Lack of reliable tracking. So we have faulty APIs and hard failure issues, which is going to affect us directly, basically, and our kids. So one case that it's one too much. Hence, this is basically what we found out. This is the issue. The issue is like we are centralized, and we are shifting toward decentralized, but it's not that good. Basically, if I'm going to just pick up the example of Twitter and what happens, that's why it's not that good, actually, decentralized. We would like to move it to the distributed network, which is going to be like transparent. Therefore, we decided to create Pharma Trace, which our core values like from the community to the community. So the person first. The innovation should serve us as a community. Hence, patient security, supply chain, full transparency, easy auditing, and for sure AI. This is the four stages that we would like to build: security and tracing in the first, security as the second, third the transaction speeds, and then the data and analytics. Let's move on to the case studies. We focus now on R&D, audit, supply chain, and chronic disease. R&D, we just want to move patients that they should move on through the clinical trials on the right way with the right amount of investments. Let me just pick up the supply chain. We are fully track and tracing the whole system, which is going to be like have many advantages, like virtual stock management and traceability. On the other hand, let me just skip that one. We go to Pharma Trace asthma indicators, where we find out that basically we are working with the big pharma firm to develop a software that's going to enhance. We're going to predict the occurrence of severe asthma, which will enhance targeting efficiencies and predict the incidence. This is what we can get. A model that's, for instance, show you that when your sales force needs to go where and at what time, and which doctors did they talk to, and this is for patients. And season started with patient, I'm going to just finish with the patient, and that's it. I'm happy to take questions.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Judges.
Are you shipping the product already, and do you have customers?
So basically, we are working now very, very strongly with a big pharma firm in Paris on asthma diseases, and especially my vision is I want to go beyond asthma to chronic diseases, that they have all the common indicators that they want to spot them, and we use algorithms like now it's latency space, and we'll move on to the network. In order to the network once we have more data.
Well, where exactly is your focus? Because you started from traceability and you finished with asthma, but your company, where is it focusing on?
I'm going to just pick up blockchain and AI. So this is the two components. So honestly, putting things on the blockchain, I would not say it's not rocket science, but it's not that rocket science. The thing is what we get out of it, those data basically. This is AI, machine learning, what is the benefit directly? And this is where we have, for instance, if you track well your source, the data, hence the data that come out in models, they are more secure and more true. So that's why we want to secure the ground, then work on the top with the amount of big data that we get.
So what AI are you using?
So for now, so transition to neural network, like I just said. To neural network.
Neural networks.
Yeah, exactly. And now that we are using latency space, it's just like because we have a tiny amount of data, that's why it's quick. But we transition neural network once we get more data. But this is, for instance, in asthma. Once we are working basically in a model for supply chain. This is a huge data amount that's going to come up. And we want the people that they don't need to forecast by themselves. The system is going to say, based on seasonality, you have to now order, so that you don't get in shortage. So people who needs vaccines, for instance, they got them ready in their pharmacy in the corner.
Could
Could you tell me a little bit more about your strategy for gaining more traction, more users?
More users, we want to show what we do, basically. It's just like our examples. Did they make sense? Did they serve us? So our clients, it's B2B first. So it means like we're serving businesses, governments. We're working with French government as well in a collaboration. And we're transitioning now. We're based in Munich. We're working a lot in France because of Macron is pushing the innovation. And in Germany, we're a little bit slow. But this is this model. And then in token model, we will have two kind of token model for professionals. And the second one is for investors. And they will talk to each other.
Thank you.
Time up, guys. Interesting stuff. Round of applause for Dr. Isami from Pharma Trace.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, how are we feeling, judges? Mixed feelings? Good? Not so good? We can smile. Brilliant. Moving on. Next up, guys, we have Mr. Pierre-Alexander Picard from, originally known as Predicoin, original new name now, renamed as Almanacs. Almanacs? Sorry. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
And
Hello,
your
guys.
time starts now.
All right. Hello, guys. I'm Pierre-Alexandre Picard. I'm one of the co-founders of Almanacs. Almanacs is a cryptocurrency data analytics solution that combines content and metrics. I will quickly go on all the key points of this speech, very fast. Intro, problem, products, what's unique, the traction, business model, investment, and team. But first, let me tell you a story. This is Harold. Harold is a crypto investor. But Harold is very stressed. He is very anxious. He is spending hours on Facebook, Telegram, Medium, YouTube, CoinMarketCap. But at the end of the day, he still doesn't know what to think. He still doesn't know what's going on the market. And sometimes, he's taking very bad decisions. This is why we are building Almanacs, a platform that collects, analyzes, and scores every crypto-related data. We are basing our platform on several studies that have demonstrated that there is a strong correlation between news, social conversation, and press action. If you add to that the on-chain activity or the whales activity, it turns into a true nightmare for crypto investors because they feel overwhelmed by information and they don't know what is the true value of what they're reading, what is meaningful, what is important. And if you add to that the expected exponential growth of new crypto investors in the next years, we are going to face a problem, a big data problem. How are we going to be able to collect all this data, analyze it, and extract what is meaningful? This is why we are building a platform that can collect, analyze, and score every data. We are building our own IP in sentiment analysis, on trend detection. Petit blanc. And let me go to the next one. And we have released this platform a few months ago. So there is an online platform when you will get everything in one place. You will get the activity on Twitter from influencers. You will get the charts that give you insight on how is going on the news sentiment, for example, for Bitcoin or the social activity. And we have also released the API for professionals that want to enrich, for example, their training models with alternative data, or who want to automate investment, for example. And we also have widgets that can be integrated into third parties. We are getting traction from the online platform, professional and partnership. We are in advanced talk for integration with Bitstamp. And we are based on a subscription model, starting $19 by month for the online platform, $99 for the basic API. We also provide custom reputation on coins. And we are currently raising funds, £300,000. Our company is based in UK.
Time is up. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Judges,
What would you consider to be the original aspect of your product?
The original, you mean how we are different? Because we think that you can't only analyze the market based on only one vertical. We are different because we combine different kind of vertical, the news, the social activity, the technical analysis, the fundamentals, and the buzz. What we call the buzz is like the trend, the interest of the market, of the crowd. It's like a compound algorithm that takes into account Google trends, Bing research, Alexa ranking, and stuff. We combine all together, and we provide a final score. We are different because we are providing scoring that we want to be actionable, that people can use to understand what's going on. And we will soon add also on-chain analytics that will come to enrich our scoring.
What are you going to do with the money?
So with the money, we will...
Once you raise the money?
Yeah. So we already are 3 full-time. We are based in San Francisco and London. And we will reunite the team during the summer and hire more talents with us.
Is your AI component the sentiment analysis or something else as well?
Yeah, so we have built our own AI for sentiment analysis. We were not happy to do, like all the other competitors that work with IBM, Watson, or Google. Finally, they have the same thing to work on. We think that it's better to build our own AI with our own dictionaries and also to do some context detection to understand what is around. It's not only analyzing the keyword, but it's analyzing who is tweeting, for example, and what is the context of this tweet, what is the context of the comments. So it's really going deep dive into the interaction that someone can have with a social network, for example.
And does your API give access to that sentiment analysis engine to be applied to some other problem domain?
No, we keep it for ourselves. We provide the score, but we get our own AI for the moment for ourselves.
There have been many sort of hedge funds in the past and competitors in the fiat space that have tried to replicate what you're doing, but not so successfully.
Yeah.
What makes you different?
Because you can't replicate the old model to a new economy. That is very influenced.
Time is up, guys.
That is very influenced by millennials, and that is creating much more available content than the previous economy. And we think the true value is to combining, for example, the on-chain activity with the social activity to detect patterns.
That's it, guys. Round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. Passion, fight, anger. Next up, guys, we have fighting for the AI Startup Pitch Award is the COO and co-founder of Pink, Mr. Rupert Barksfield. Round of applause for Rupert, please. And he even has a pink blazer on.
I'm out representing.
Fantastic. Nice to meet you, Rupert.
Good to see you.
And your time starts now.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here today. It's great to be down in Malta. Emin, thanks for putting this on. It's a great gig. Has anybody invested in digital assets? It's pretty easy to lose, right, with all that volatility in the market. And it probably provides a little bit of comfort to know that you're not the only one. Out of the $4.5 trillion millennial investing market, 31% of those people have yet to get into digital assets, principally because of this. It's so high risk, and it's difficult to know when to buy and how to buy and what to buy. And we know this because we've got 1,400 users on our platform already, and they tell us this every single day. We've provided the solution that they want. So the principal problem that we're trying to fix here is risk. Only 5% of retail investors actually make a profit. And that's, as I mentioned before, is down to the limited amount of time you have to research and what to research, when to buy, and how to buy. And so the obvious thing to do here would be to invest into an investment vehicle or a fund or somebody professional, right? Well, you usually get excluded from that because you don't have enough money or you're not considered sophisticated or high net worth. And we don't think that's right. So our solution's for everybody. We allow anybody to invest into our fund, whether you've got money or not. We allow we've created one-click simplicity, and it's very easy to buy in or sell your position. And when you invest time versus when you invest money, you help us predict how the market's going to move. And we combine that prediction with AI to get a very, very accurate result. And we know we've got an accurate result because for the last 4.5 months, we've been trading our first investment vehicle.